The top 10 misconceptions of Blender. It should be noted that by now, most of the early misconceptions of Blender is now long gone. Anyone who have ever even heard of a win of Blender will know that it is a very, very powerful and capable 3D program. However, while observing discussions from various forums, I still noticed some common misconceptions of Blender that compels me to make this video, so let's talk about it. Blender is looked upon as a poor man's tool because it is free. This is a question whose answer could only be best expressed from a personal standpoint. I will say this, even if I have the money for 100 years of subscription to a certain subscription-based 3D program, I would still be using Blender because of its power, which brings us to the second point. Blender is not as powerful as other big giant corporate 3D programs. Do you know that for the amount of money you are paying for the right to use certain 3D programs from some big company per year, you could buy up almost all of Blender's add-on? Not to mention all the free ones created by people who are just passionate about helping the Blender community. There is not a single commercial 3D program out there that is on par with the power of Blender and all its add-ons combined. Let me repeat that just one more time. With the amount of money you are paying for a year of usage for some 3D programs out there, you could buy out almost all of Blender's add-on with plenty to spare, which you can use to either become my Patreon or buy something nice for your loved ones. It's just not economically viable to go down those legacy routes unless you are occasionally working on legacy files or you're working for a company that's stuck in the past. Oh, did I mention that your hard work does not belong to you? Sure, technically your files does belong to you, but if, say for example, somewhere down the line you decide to make some modifications to your old models and re-render them, you will have to pay up to be able to open your own files again. So it's kind of like having your work held hostage if you ask me. Blender's render quality sucks. What? Are the people saying this even living on the same planet? Did they not see any of Blender's open movies? I don't think it's the tool, bro. I do not think it's the tool. Blender is not used by the industry at large. Well, that's probably true 10 years ago. That's so long ago in tech years. I think dinosaurs exist back then. You know, I would even be so bold as to say that if you don't know Blender, you will severely limit your job options in the future. Times have changed. I hate Blender. You what? You hate Blender? Like you personally hate Blender? Oh hell. Blender's interface is ridiculous. Blender might have an interface only a mom could love in the past, but post version 2.8, that just simply isn't true anymore. As a matter of fact, check out my other videos on how to make it even easier to use. Blender's rigging system cannot hold a candle to the ease of use of 3D Studio Max Piped and/or CAT system. Blender does have Rigify, but yeah, I'll give you that. My company requires support. We want to have someone to call when we encounter a problem. There are plenty of Blender support forums out there, and many of them are willing and ready to help out their fellow artists. The 3D industry shies away from Blender. That's not true. That's just not true. I have had the privilege to interact with 3D artists from all walks, and most are very open to Blender. I would even go so far as to say that they want Blender to succeed. They couldn't wait for Blender to succeed. A lot of creators are rooting for Blender to succeed. Many of them are keeping a watchful eye on Blender like a cat waiting to hop into the Blender box at a moment's notice when they feel the time is right for them. renderers used by the industry doesn't have support in Blender. This is an undismissible issue. But what renderers are we even talking about here though? Maybe you guys can list down the renderers you use most often that isn't as of yet supported by Blender? Maybe the powers to be might come across this video and set up a wave of consideration. Alright, that's it for this video. Check out my other Blender videos and so much more that I can't fit inside the frame. Please support me in Patreon to help me continue this fun journey. This is Braceau Jack and I will see you next time.